Hello, my name is Dylan Sikora. This is my partner Tyler Scruggs, and today we have a presentation over human trafficking within Indiana, modern slavery, victimization, criminal justice response, and policy changes.
Slavery was practiced for millennia, from ancient times to transatlantic slave trade and slavery within the colonies. In the 18th century, the strong abolitionist movement started, which called for the abolition of slavery. In the 19th century, slavery was abolished in Europe. This included the British Empire, where the Slavery Abolition Act was enacted in 1833. In the 20th century, an international treaty called the Slavery Convention 1926 was created, prohibiting the practice of slavery. In 1948, the first international human rights instrument, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, was adopted. It states that all human beings are born equal in dignity and rights, and it prohibits slavery in all its forms. Although slavery is legally prohibited, it continues in the 21st century. Trafficking in human beings, or THB, is a form of modern slavery. It is a crime which also has a strong human rights dimension. In short, it involves the recruitment of the victim and their transportation to another state or within the same state for the purposes of exploitation. THB is defined in the Protocol to the United Nations Convention Against Transnational Organized Crime to prevent, suppress, and punish trafficking in persons, especially women and children. Trafficking involves three elements: the act, the means, and the purpose. THB is a process that involves several stages and several perpetrators. The act. Firstly, a person is recruited. The trafficker can be a recruitment agency representative who promises an attractive and well-paid job to the person, whilst knowing that the person will be exploited. However, this act can also be done by a person who may have already known the victim. It is not uncommon for a victim to be recruited by a neighbor, a friend of a friend, or even a family member. Following that, a person is transported to another place in the country or transferred across state borders to another country. The means. Deception is an important part of the process of trafficking. A person may be told that they are going to work abroad, for example, in agricultural work, in a factory, or as an au pair. Very often, the victim believes that they will receive a fair remuneration for their work. Traffickers establish control over their victims. Victims are often subjected to threats, physical and sexual violence, and degrading treatment. Many have their identification documents taken away to prevent them from leaving the country. The purpose. One of the key purposes of THB is sexual exploitation, mainly of women and children. However, people are trafficked for other types of exploitation too. For example, the victims may be trafficked for agricultural work, forced domestic labor, cultivation of cannabis, forced marriage, organ transplants, or begging. Trafficking happens worldwide every year. Victims of trafficking may not always be visible, but they are present everywhere. For example, they may be on the same flight as you, or may be working in a hotel where you are staying. If you suspect that slavery is happening near you, you should call the police.
All right. Our introduction. Human trafficking is a modern day form of slavery that involves the use of force, fraud, or coercion. It exploits individuals for labor or commercial sex, can affect anyone regardless of age, race, gender, or nationality. It obviously violates basic human rights and contributes to crime, violence, and corruption. Fun fact, blue is the awareness color for human trafficking.
There are many types of human trafficking. The major forms include sexual exploitation and forced labor, which are the two most popular. Debt bondage, which includes someone who's in a lot of debt and they need to work to pay off their debt without getting paid. Organ removal, forced begging, and forced marriage. The top five most popular industries linked to forced labor are the agriculture, domestic work, factories, hospitality, and nightclubs.
Being in the 21st century, technology has changed how traffickers operate. The use of social media, messaging applications, dating websites, gaming platforms, and online advertisements are just one of many ways that traffickers like to use to coerce their victims. This creates greater anonymity, easier victim access, and more difficult detection. Traffickers now use the internet as one of their most powerful weapons for victim recruitment and control.
And this links to online grooming and recruitment. Traffickers use many strategies to pose as friends, romantic partners, job recruiters, and financial supporters to access victims. They do this by first building trust, second, creating an emotional dependence, third, introducing manipulation, and fourth, finally exploiting the victim.
Some warning signs of human trafficking, in particular for labor trafficking, is pressure to remain at a job, unpaid labor, debt to employer, no access to identification, or unsafe work conditions. Some signs for sex trafficking are an inability to leave, controlled communication, manager or pimp involvement, or a controlling guardian. These are crucial warning indicators for spotting potential victims.
Indiana is often referred to as the crossroads of America. Because of this, it's often a place human traffickers have taken advantage of.
80% of the U.S. population can be reached within about a day's drive of Indiana. So that's why you see so much of the logistics, distribution centers, things of that nature, being warehoused here in the state of Indiana.
Often these traffickers are stopping at gas stations, restaurants, or hotels, following different events where they are able to make money.
So, for example, um, football games, basketball games, conferences, conventions, things of that nature. They're going to target locations where they feel like there's going to be an opportunity for them to make money. That's the bottom line. And unfortunately, the victims are exploited over and over and over again.
Just last week, an arrest was made here in St. Joseph County for alleged human trafficking. This specific instance reportedly started out online, but trafficking can also happen through a family member or even a close friend.
What they first say might be legal economic activity that becomes illegal, or it might be a situation where a relationship starts that they think is going to be a romantic or supportive relationship, and then it turns into something different.
I'm John Paul. Thanks for watching. Here's another video from
Uh, there's many reasons why Indiana is a high risk for human trafficking. Indiana is known as the crossroads of America because many major interstate routes, including I-65, I-69, I-70, and I-74, all run through the state. The most high-risk locations that you'll find trafficking is hotels, gas stations, truck stops, restaurants, and many major events such as the Indy 500 or Gen Con.
Some statistics of Indiana from 2024. There were around 561 victims, 154 trafficking incidents, and 293 hotline signals. This is included with sex trafficking, labor trafficking, and of course, mixed cases. These numbers likely underrepresent actual victimization.
There are many vulnerable populations to human trafficking. The high-risk groups include homeless and runaway youth, foster care youth, women and girls, undocumented immigrants, migrant workers, people who live in poverty, and individuals with mental health or substance use disorders. This is because many of them don't have support groups around them that can help them or are too afraid to reach out to police to get help.
Now you may ask what might some responses be from law enforcement? Indiana in particular responses are the 24-hour hotline reporting system, mandatory reporting laws, local police investigations, Indiana State Police involvement, and victim advocacy services. Investigators review surveillance footage, financial records, phone data, and social media activity. During investigations, victim advocates collaborate closely with law enforcement.
Many victim-centered supports out there for victims. These include emergency shelters, medical treatment, trauma-informed counseling, legal advocacy, and crisis intervention. And they focus on safety for victims, trust building, and evidence gathering to build a case against the trafficker.
Um, Recovery recovery services include counseling and therapy, safe housing, case management, educational support, employment assistance, and financial literacy. The goal is to prevent re-trafficking. For survivors to be independent and long-term recovery is crucial.
A very important thing to note when tracking human trafficking statistics are dark figures. Dark figures are unreported trafficking cases that do not get reported to law enforcement. They're in many other types of crimes too, but it's specifically prominent in human trafficking. The reason why it's so prominent is fear, shame, retaliation, victims not realizing they're being abused, and the private nature of the crime. This leads to misleading stats, reduced funding from government agencies, and continued victimization for those who have no way out.
Some policy recommendations. Indiana should focus on stronger penalties, increased funding, improved officer training, agency cooperation, online monitoring, and public education. These regulations enhance victim outcomes and lessen the number of dark figures.
So, in conclusion, human trafficking remains a very major issue in Indiana and throughout the world. The key needs are stronger prevention measures, stronger prosecution towards traffickers. Survivors need more support instead of criminalization, and better reporting systems to prevent crimes. Indiana must continue working harder to uncover hidden victims and reduce human trafficking within the state. And here's a story of a 21-year-old's survival story.
Tonight, we want to take a closer look at human trafficking here in Indiana. Now, according to the National Human Trafficking Hotline, 83 victims or survivors of human trafficking reached out back in 2024. So tonight, we take a look at the impact on one Indiana woman and some of the resources that are available for survivors.
It happens to a lot of many girls around the area, and including Indianapolis.
This Hoosier is a survivor of human trafficking. How old were you when this happened?
I was only 12.
We're protecting the identity of this 21-year-old, calling her April. She told us she met the perpetrator through social media.
At the time, I thought he was helping me out, getting me away from my parents' house, and then ended up finding out later on by police that he was ended up being a sex trafficker.
April said the man took her to hotels and other young girls showed up.
They think this older dude is going to go buy them alcohol, or this older dude is going to go buy him drugs, because that's what kids look for nowadays.
April said her perpetrator threatened her.
He told me that he would kill my dog. He told me he would kill my family.
April said she was trafficked 2 to 3 years before she told anyone. Eventually, April found help through an Indianapolis-based nonprofit called Allies.
We work with survivors of trafficking, providing mentorship and a supportive community.
The organization provides April with a mentor. She attends monthly meetings and goes on outings. And April has become a Christian.
3 months ago, I got baptized. And that was a significant, great experience for me. And honestly, it's changed my life. Because at the end of the day, I know Jesus has got me. Jesus is what saved me at the end of the day.
Now there's an effort to educate the community about human trafficking so people can look for the signs of someone in trouble.
They do have a sign nowadays that they do this, and that's their way of telling you, hey, I need your help.
It's also important for you to know the answer to this question. What is human trafficking?
So it's not an unmarked van snatching a girl out of a parking lot. What it really boils down to is it's anytime someone is trading sex for something of value. But if you're thinking about someone who needs a place to stay and they trade sex for a place to stay, that's considered trafficking. Or if they are an addict and they're looking for drugs and they trade sex in order to get that, that's considered trafficking. Oftentimes there's some kind of blackmail involved. If a lot of times, teenagers are sending nude photos. They can take that photo and say, if you don't do X, Y, Z, then I'm going to show this picture to everybody at school.
April is courageous to talk about her past and looking now to the future, and pleading for parents to supervise their children's use on phones and social media.
Watch what their kids are doing while they're on the internet, if anything.
Now April is on a new path, looking ahead and encouraging those who've traveled a similar journey in life.
Do not let anybody tell you that you're worthless or you're anything like that, because you are not. Just because a situation happens like that doesn't mean that you can't move on in life or learn from it.
Thank you for watching our presentation over human trafficking within Indiana.